Hello, all you positive heads out there. It's so good to be back with all you beautiful reflections of the one source consciousness that creates and animates all things. If you're new to this podcast, of course, we are super happy to have you here, and we just ask that you bring an open mind and heart to your listening experience and to be prepared to explore vantage points that I'm convinced will help shift or solidify your current understanding of the ultimate nature of reality in a way that is extremely empowering. Speaking of exploring powerful perspectives, I'm super excited to announce the release of my very first book, The Golden Key: Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance. If you're ready to alchemize the circumstances in your life so that your abundance expands to an entirely new level in 2021, head over to goldenkey.gift to download the audio or ebook as my gift to you by using the code POSITIVEHEAD. All right, all you positive heads, welcome to the show. Here we grow again. So grateful to be with you again on this magical Monday here in the studio. I get to get up, have a cup of coffee, answer some beautiful emails, just kind of slowly make my way to turning on the microphone, figuring out what wants to come through today. And yeah, it's really a beautiful process. And I'm just so thankful for each and every one of you that are taking this ride with me and co-creating the show. And because it truly is you guys' questions, by the way, send them if you haven't, Brandon@positivehead.com, or join the Facebook group Positive Heads with an S. Great place to connect with other listeners and ask your questions. But co-creating, of course, the Friday shows, the P-Head Posse shows with Alexa, and all of you stopping by. It just is so wonderful how it continues to expand and grow and become a reflection of each and every one of us. And I'm just grateful. Thought I'd start my magical Monday off with that. And I'm going to talk about a post that I made on Instagram, and then there were some replies to, which, by the way, I don't usually throw out the Instagram, positive_head. If you're not following, my personal over there is optimistic, spelled MYSTIC, and the O in opti is a 0. So that's how you can find me. I posted something on the Positive Head on the Positive Head Instagram, and there were some comments and replies to it that really prompted what I want to talk about today. So yeah, that person, in this case, they were sort of negative comments, but I don't know if I view them. It's just like negative. Their perspective is one of not optimistic. Maybe put it that way. And so, which is fine, which is great. It's part of the journey too, right? So, but it prompted me, these people who maybe don't even tune into the show co-created what I want to talk about today. So it is happening from all fronts, all angles, and I love it all. And let's see here. Before I jump into discussing all of that, I would like to take a moment to read a review on iTunes. You guys know I love my iTunes reviews. They not only help us to reach new people, but certainly help to fuel my fire to continue this labor of love. This one came in by MC Column J1978, something like that. A daily necessity. My brother suggested that I check out this podcast about 2 years ago. Upon listening, I quickly realized that many of the perspectives resonated with my point of view. I felt like much of the wisdom offered just seemed to make sense to me, and many of the spiritual questions I had seemed to be answered by Brandon and many of the other guests of the podcast. This has become an essential way to start my morning every day. It helps me to gain perspective, work through issues, and achieve a sense of balance. I look forward to discovering more insights into the universe with each new episode and maintaining an elevated vibration. Oh, thank you for taking the time to review. That definitely was very eloquently said, and certainly lights me up to hear that I get to start my morning. You get to start your morning with the show, as I just explained how I start my morning. I think that's kind of a cool little synchronicity there. And yeah, just it's beautiful, ever expanding. Thank you, thank you, thank you. you haven't taken a moment to review on iTunes, definitely would appreciate if you did. Okay, if not, but yeah, do it if you've been thinking about it, because who knows? Your review could be that butterfly effect that leads to, just a little bit more reach out there in some way, shape, or form, and it completely transforms someone's life, right? That's the cool thing about all this stuff. I can't wait until, I can wait. I look forward. See, here's a good way. That's a good swap out, by the way. Instead of saying, I can't wait for this. No, you're dishonoring like the moment. You're dishonoring where you're at. Not intentionally, but maybe change those words to, instead of I cannot wait, I look forward to. I look forward to being beyond the veil and seeing the ripple effects, the ROI, the ripple of impact of doing this labor of love, and how it trickled out and how it affected different people's lives. And I mean, what a fascinating, I'm going to have a big tub of spiritual imaginary popcorn for that one, because that's going to be cool. And we all do it. We're all doing it every day. It's like, how much are you going to turn up the volume on that? I'm a reflection of you. If I can do it, you can do it. And all in our own unique ways too, right? We all have our own paths. Not everyone's going to do a podcast, but there's so many ways to touch lives. And, it makes me think of my forthcoming guest powwow this week, Charles Eisenstein, who's amazing. And you guys will hear this week coming up. But I met him down in Costa Rica last February, and he gave a talk at the Superhero Academy, and he was talking about this. And I've mentioned it before a while back, but he was talking about, ripple of impact. A lot of that conversation was happening. And he was like, who is more important, Gandhi or Gandhi's mother or grandmother, who nurtured him and gave him, sort of the foundation from which he could do all the things that he did. And that's a great point, right? You could go out and change one person's life, and that is more impactful. Not that it's a competition or anyone's keeping count, but it could be, if we were to look at the accounting or logistics of it, where you impact that one, 8-year-old that happens to live down the street, and you get to talk with him, and you plant a seed that completely changes his perspective and trajectory. And he goes on to be like the future leader of the new united planet of Earth, government that is all under one roof, something like that. Who knows? I think at some point that will happen. There will be no like imaginary lines where we call each other, say we have, I'm this country and you're that country. Like, I think that'll be looked back as like, oh, remember when we used to draw imaginary lines and pretend like we were separate? That was cute and kind of ugly at times, but cute, but ugly. You get it. Okay, I digress. Let's jump into today's topic, which is inspired by something that I posted yesterday on Instagram. And I saw someone else, and I can't even remember where now, posted this great picture of Alan Watts, the philosopher, with a pipe in his mouth, and just this cool setting, trees behind him, big pine trees. And it's and you probably heard this quote. I'm sure I've read it at some point on the show. The meaning of life is just to be alive. It is so plain and so obvious and so simple. And yet everybody rushes around in a great panic as if it were necessary to achieve something beyond themselves. Then I wrote, like, sort of as a caption, I wrote, before you incarnated on Earth, the big success you hope to achieve while here was uncovering the mystery of your being. To remember, you are indeed the one, and celebrate this ultimate truth. You were already a raging success the day you arrived here. Welcome to the union. It's ONE, wonderful to see you again. You are all so BEAU till full. Yeah, that's what I wrote. And, a lot of people, of course you get your needed to see this today, and people sending hearts and emojis. And, and then someone wrote, funny, we're supposed to learn lessons about what and how we're not told, as if there's a secret magical answer that will make it all fall into place. And guess what? As soon as we think we have the answer, well, It's a secret. The secret is you never find the answer of the game. You never find the answer or the game will be over. And then she went on to write, I'm tired of this game. I'm not having fun. Someone else wrote, and their name is funny, so I'll just say it, Toke for Jesus wrote, he was having a bad high for Jesus at this moment because they wrote, this is the most uninspiring quote I've ever read. And so, getting those responses, it, of course, got my wheels turning, surprise, surprise, on, well, why is it the most uninspiring quote this person has read? Or why is this other person, tired of this game? And, of course, it always comes back to the same thing, right? Perspective on it all. There's thoughts that are being created that create suffering. There's ideas, and it's always about shifting and sifting perspectives, right? And easier said than done, oftentimes, right? I saw another quote that I really liked, and it was, I think Alexa posted it actually. From Morgan Harper Nichols. It says, I hope today is the kind of day where you see the light in everything. And that really is the thing, right? That's the choice, to see the light in everything. If you can stop worrying about what you need to do or not do. And I just talked about this last week, and it just feels like this needs to be continued to talk about, because we need to look at this from as many angles as possible. There's nowhere you have to go, nothing you have to be. Nothing matters and everything counts. I saw written many, many years ago in an article or something, and that always stuck with me. It's both, right? This is everything and this is nothing, both at once. And you're meant to just sort of dance and enjoy that. And if you're not liking the game, it's because you're playing it from a perspective and in a way that is not creating results that make it enjoyable. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. Everything counts. You are creating what's going to happen. And how do we shift? How do we make that transition into, okay, if nothing matters and everything counts, the meaning of life is just to be alive, right? It's simply to be alive. What do we do? One is moving more fully, powerfully into the moment, into the now, right? The power of now is all about that, by Eckhart Tolle. I saw a wonderful quote by J. Iron Word, said, remember to breathe, blink and enjoy the moment. Cry if you want to cry, laugh if you want to laugh, because life is about days like this. And it truly is, you've never seen a great work of art without shadow. And so it's all a part of it all. And when someone is not understanding or feeling or appreciating that this is the way it is, and that it's all actually underneath it all, like it's happening for you. And if you don't believe that, then I could see where it gets really, really, really painful, right? I can see why people want to leave the game. Oftentimes they feel disempowered. They don't understand. Like there is you get into the meaning of life in that topic. That's one thing, but there's apparently rules or ways of creating your reality and making the game enjoyable. And part of that is just, as it said, remembering to breathe, blink and enjoy the moment, drawing attention to the beauty in each and every moment. If you can just not hold anything back, you're going to want to cry. There's nothing wrong with crying. That is part of the journey. You're going to want to laugh. That is part of a journey. It's just to be alive and feel it all as intensely as you can, and to be as present with it, be as present with the gift of your existence as possible. I remember meeting someone a long time ago who was, this woman was a very powerful healer, ayahuasquero, intuitive. And she talked about, if you could see the line of souls that is just waiting for the opportunity to be here, you would not take this so lightly. You would not fluff this off as just, something that just you just want to get out of and get rid of. You paid many dues to be here. And if you can move into a state, even if even if at the end of the day, let's say all of the ideas that we've shared over 800 episodes about how we create a reality and we're one with all things and all of these perspectives, let's say it was all wrong, right? What has it led in my moment, in your moment of just being alive, right? Let's just imagine for a moment that is, the atheists were right. There is nothing after we're just dead, right? Well, the quality of life that this perspective that everything is happening for you, the meaning of life is to just be as present as possible, embrace whatever is. And if you embrace whatever is coming up, you actually transform that lump of coal, if it appears like a lump of coal from one perspective, into a diamond. This whole idea that we've talked about over and over from every angle possible over 800 episodes, if that is indeed the way you lived and then turned out to be, you're not one with everything. You actually are this biological, creature that just dies and it comes from who knows where and why it's here. No one knows, and you're just dead. Guess what? You had the best quality life, because what we know is the results that these perspectives bring. They bring health, happiness, abundance. Doesn't mean there's not trying. Doesn't mean there's not crying. But those tears now come with a certain appreciation instead of resentment, right? You find the beautiful moment. I'm about to play a clip here in a moment, actually, from Alan Watts talking about the meaning of life. And he talks in that about this, the art of photography, how we've all seen photography, right? Where the paint peeling on a door or an old country road, right? And it's just this beautiful scene with an old rocking chair or something broken down, perhaps. And there's all this character in it and beauty. And that's the beauty of a photographer a photographer with a wonderful eye is able to take these mundane moments and make them stunningly beautiful in a way and present them in a way that we all now see it. Like, whoa, if I'd been walking on that country road, I'd been thinking, God, I'm in BFE. What am I doing here? How do I get back to the city? And blah, 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 blah. Like that, right? We definitely could have that experience being, I'm in the middle of nowhere, right? There's nothing here. Well, from a different perspective, there's this beautiful moment happening that's just being missed. And if you can start tapping into that, I think the person who said this is the most uninspiring quote they've ever read, or the person who said that they don't want to be here anymore, they would find that all around them is beauty that they've been missing, because they've been tuned into the wrong channel, the wrong perspective. They've been tuned into a voice. If I could guarantee you, if I could go and listen to the person who doesn't want to be here anymore, if I could go and listen to the song that's playing in their head, the music, the lyrics that are playing in their head, they're ones that are the ones that led to writing that, right? It's that this is meaningless. There's nothing. I'm tired of it. It's painful because you're resisting. Your pain is always equivalent to your amount of resistance to what is. If you move into a place of surrender to it all and just start flowing with the current, what has happened for all the people who've tried this approach, the person writing that, saying they're tired of it, they probably haven't tried that yet. The people who have tried the surrender experiment and just flowing and looking for the beauty, choosing to reach for the beauty in each and every moment, no matter what's arising in front of them, they're instead of resisting it, because what we now know and have seen from so many people who've been down this road is when we resist it, it persists. When we accept it, we move through it. You start seeing the beauty in it. That's the surefire way to transmuting it and finding the gift that's hiding behind that challenging moment, that quote unquote ugly moment. And if you can move into, my whole life is about nothing more than doing that, to learning to just flow with the current. I'm done fighting. I'm done trying. I'm done trying to do anything other than find the beauty with what's in front of me. Isn't that a simple MO now? Like, okay, I'm putting down all, I've been swinging my axe so hard for so long, trying to create what I think will bring meaning or fulfillment. And of course, a lot of times when you are fortunate enough to create, as Jim Carrey said, I wish everyone could be rich and famous because I could see that's not where it's at. Like, you can't, swinging your axe is not going to bring it. It may bring temporary moments of joy and excitement, but what really brings the lasting joy and excitement and true appreciation for your life, where you're not tired of it, you just want more, it's finding and seeking the beauty in all the little things, all the fleeting moments. That moment with your child or your grandmother or your dog. These are fleeting, precious, precious moments. They're like a vapor. Think back to 10 years ago, something that was happening in your life that was beautiful that at the time you probably took for granted. Maybe feeding your child, breakfast and having to spoon feed them. And maybe in that moment of you spoon feeding them on a given day, you were annoyed, right? They were troublesome and they're kind of like spitting it out, not quite turning their head like babies can do, right? And now that same baby is no longer even in existence, right? There's a child, a young child that exists now that's different and has a whole different set of sometimes challenges too, right? But if you could, my mom says it all the time. She goes, "Oh, I just wish I could turn back time." And, all of my kids were little and my grandkids, I mean, to her, that's like, her children and her grandchildren are everything. And it's, because those moments are so precious. And then, of course, we all tend to be nostalgic at times and look back. I know I'm so nostalgic as a person. And my big aim is to be aware of the precious moments of now, because they're all so fleeting. And so that's what I encourage each and every one of you to do, no matter where it's at, that job that you can't stand going to. If you can bring beauty and see the beauty that's there hidden under that crusty person next to you, or it's there. It's there. This is the game. You're here to Sherlock Holmes this thing and find it. Find the beauty that's been hiding in plain sight all along. Okay, enough for me. Let's hear Alan. Alan Watts, The Meaning of Life. I found this on the Spiritual Library YouTube page. Take a listen.
It's very commonly said that the root of most human unhappiness is the sense that one's life has no meaning. This is, I suppose, most frequently said in circles interested in psychotherapy, because the feeling of meaninglessness is often equated with the existence of neurosis. And so many activities into which one is encouraged to enter, philosophies one is encouraged to believe, and religions one is encouraged to join, are commended on the basis of the fact that they give life a meaning. And I think it's very fascinating to think out what this idea itself means, or what it is intended when it's said that life has to have a purpose. I remember so well as a child listening to sermons in church in which the preacher would constantly refer to God's purpose for you and for me, and I could never make out what it was, because when questioned about this, the Reverend gentleman seemed to be evasive. What is the purpose of God for the world? We used to sing a hymn too, God is working his purpose out as year succeeds to year. And the nearest clue one got to it was in the sort of refrain of the hymn, nearer and nearer draws the time that shall surely be, when the earth shall be filled with the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. And, of course, that raises the question, what is the glory of God? Well, now, it's pretty obvious, I think, that when we talk about life having or not having a meaning, we're not using quite the ordinary sense of the word meaning as the attribute of a sign. We're not saying, are we, that we expect this natural universe to behave as if it were a collection of words signifying something other than themselves. It isn't a point of view which would reduce our lives and the world merely to the status of signs. And it's obviously in some different sense than that that Goethe wrote his famous lines at the end of Faust. Alles Vergängliche ist nur ein Gleichnis. Forgive my pronunciation of German. All that is mortal or all that is perishable is but a symbol. And so, a symbol of what? What do we want to feel? What would satisfy us as being the meaning behind this world? It's so often, you know, that we don't follow our ideas and our desires through. Most of the things that we want very fervently are things that we've only half glimpsed. Our ideals are very often suggestions, hints, and we don't know really exactly what we mean when we think about it. But there is this obscure sense in which we feel that life ought to have significance and be a symbol in at least that sense, if not just so arid a symbol as a mere sign. Or it also may mean that life is meaningful. An individual feels that his life amounts to something when he belongs and fits in with the execution of some group enterprise. He feels he belongs in a plan. And this too seems to give people a sense of great satisfaction. But we have to pursue that question further too. Why is it that a plan, why is it that fellowship with other people gives the sense of meaning? Does it come down perhaps to another sense of meaning, that life is felt to be meaningful when one is fully satisfying one's biological urges, including the sense of hunger, the sense of love, the sense of self-expression in activity, and so on. But then again, we have to push that inquiry further. What do our biological urges really point towards? Are they just, however, things always projected towards a future? Is biology and its processes nothing but going on towards going on towards going on? Or there's a fourth and more theological sense of the meaning of life. In all theistic religions, at any rate, the meaning of life is God himself. In other words, all this world means a person. It means a heart. It means an intelligence. And the relationship of love between God and man is the meaning of the world. The sight of God is the glory of God, and so on. But again here, there's something to be further pursued. What is it that we want in love with a person, and even a person in the sense of the Lord God? What is the content of it? What is it that we are really yearning after? Well, now, if we go back to the first point, taking Goethe's words that all that is transitory is but a symbol, and that we want to feel that all things have significance, it does seem to me that there's a sense in which we often use the word significance, where the word seems to be chosen quite naturally, and yet at the same time it's not quite the right word. We say, for example, often of music, that we feel it to be significant, when just at the same time we don't mean that it expresses some particular kind of concretely realizable emotion, and certainly it's not imitating the noises of nature. Program music, you know, would simply imitate something else, and it deliberately sets out to express sadness or joy or whatever, is not the kind of thing I mean. So often when one listens to the beautiful arabesque character of the Baroque composers, Bach or Vivaldi, it is felt to be significant, not because it means something other than itself, but because it is so satisfying as it is. And we use then this word significance. So often, in those moments when our impetuous seeking for fulfillment cools down, and we give ourselves a little space to watch things, as if they were worth watching, ordinary things. And in those moments when our inner turmoil has really quietened, we find significance in things that we wouldn't expect to find significant at all. I mean, this is, after all, the art of those photographers who have such genius in turning the camera towards such things as peeling paint on an old door, or mud and sand and stones on a dirt road, and showing us there that if we look at it in a certain way, those things are significant. But we can't say significant of what so much as significant of themselves. Or perhaps significance then is the quality of a state of mind in which we notice that we're overlooking the significance of the world by our constant quest for it later. All this language is, of course, quite naturally vague and imprecise, because I think the wrong word is used. And yet not entirely the wrong word, because, as I said, it comes so naturally to us. It was Clive Bell, the great aesthetician, who wanted to say that all the characteristic of art, especially the characteristic of aesthetic success in painting, was the creation of significant form. Again, a very vague, imprecise expression. But it certainly is an attribute, not only of those moments in which we are tranquil inside, but also of moments of deep spiritual experience, of what would be called moksha, or release in Hinduism, or satori in Zen. That in those moments, the significance of the world seems to be the world, seems to be what is going on now. And we don't look any further. The scheme of things seems to justify itself at every moment of its unfoldment. I pointed out that this was particularly a characteristic of music. It's also a characteristic of dancing. And in the sensation of belonging with one's fellow men, in the carrying out of some significant pattern of life, which I mentioned as a second sense of the world being meaningful. Again, the character of this feeling is, again, something that is fulfilled in itself. To dance is not to be going anywhere. When we dance in the ballroom, we don't have a destination, we're just going round the room. And it's in doing this, it's in executing the pattern, in singing the music with other people, that even though this doesn't point to anything outside itself, we again get the sense of meaning. And this is also obviously the case so often in the satisfaction of the biological urges. Does one live to eat or eat to live? I'm not at all sure about this. I'm sure I very often live to eat, because sitting around a table with people, I don't like eating alone, and enjoying food is absolutely delightful. And we're not thinking when we do this, at least certainly I'm not, that we have to eat because it's good for us, and that we've got to throw something down the hatch, as Henry Miller said, and swallow a dozen vitamins, just because our system needs nourishment. I remember quite recently there was an article in the Consumer Reports about bread. And there had been some correspondence and protests saying that the bread one bought, white bread one buys in the stores, is perfectly inedible and lacking in nutrition. And that it was much better to eat peasant-type breads, rough pumpernickel and things of that kind. And the experts replied that our white bread is perfectly full of good nutrients, and there's nothing really the matter with it at all. Well, I felt like saying, it isn't a matter, perhaps, of the bread being deficient in the essential vitamins. Bread isn't medicine, it's food, and one's complaint against it is that it's bad cookery. It tastes of nothing. And we do tend, don't we, to look upon food so often for what it will do for us rather than the delight of eating it.
So yeah, Alan talked about the preacher always talking about God's purpose for you and me. And what came up for me when he said that is, you know, all these potentialities of what our soul can accomplish in this lifetime. And there are certain, greatest and grandest versions, highest purpose, I suppose. And if we get into this moment, this place of surrender and surrender and appreciation, the combination of those two things, surrender, appreciation, and curiosity. That's what comes up for me right now. Like if you surrender to what's happening, appreciate whatever's happening, and have curiosity about the things that are bubbling up, maybe the synchronistic suggestion that you check this particular thing out as a possible career path, and then you're like, whoa, that's really interesting, I never knew about it, and then someone else brings it up to you, or it comes to you in another way, and now you're curious and you're following the breadcrumbs. That's how you find this purpose, I would say. Goethe said, all that is perishable is but a symbol. I think there's some real truth there too. Everything is symbolic. Everything that happens is like a reflection of this fractalized, prismatic existence of divinity. It's always reflecting itself back to itself. And, you know, one of the most powerful things, the very powerful thing from this talk that he gave, this clip, he talked about music is significant, not because it means something other than itself. It is satisfying as it is. And I think that's where it's at. That's your meaning. The meaning is in the moment, is in the power of now, the power of what is. We don't dance to get to a destination, right? Although I kind of laughed to myself when I heard this, because like, I've seen a few dudes on the dance floor that are definitely have a destination in mind. Just so happens to be next to a really beautiful girl, and not always welcome, but you get the point. We don't dance to get to a destination, right? It's like you're doing it for the act of doing it. Music isn't played to hear the final note played. You know, the art of photography, the paint peeling on a door. Significance is a state of mind that we are overlooking by our constant quest for it later in some very grandiose way, right? We've been taught that in our society. Oh, yeah, you become significant by starting Facebook, or, something, you do this great thing. You're the next Elon Musk, or you're nothing, right? It's a joke. The significance is in the mother that no one will ever see that special moment with her child that was just shared between them, or the person with their pet, what a fleeting life, our pets have, and how special and magical they are. That's where the significance is. Yeah, there can be really big significance that everyone can see and appreciate. Great. That's, or it's not really bigger. It may be more viewable, recognizable because of a platform, or it's in the media or something like that. But it's no more significant than the smallest thing that happened behind closed doors in rural, whatever, somewhere in the world that no one will ever know about. I love how he said, he kind of compared it the same with food and sex. Do I eat to live or live to eat? Maybe both. It's that act of communing and just being in the moment and enjoying what is. That is the path. That is how we go from wanting out of it, wanting out of the the dance, wanting out of the dreams, because we have all these expectations built up around it about what it should or shouldn't be. And we've judged things as good or bad. So much judgment of good or bad. Meanwhile, what you're viewing as bad is shaping you into all the good that wants to unfold. It's preparing the way. And if you can move into a sense of trust and faith that is part of God's purpose, right? Higher self's purpose for yourself. Once you move into that perspective, it works, and it works really, really well. Maybe the atheists could be right. I don't think so. Actually, I'm pretty darn sure they're not. But let's say they were. I still would stick to my perspective because it's bringing health, happiness, abundance. This is the proof is in what it brings, right? The proof is in the joy in knowing that you have the power to create joy in your life. That's my story. I'm sticking with it, sticking to it for today. I hope you have enjoyed as much as I have. And, I challenge each of you as you step out into your world today. Can you bring this perspective to your work, to your mundane acts? Can you bring just simply being alive? The grittiness of it is part of look at a movie. Look at all the good movies. It's like they're not showing the hero like, oh, they walk down a primrose path of flower petals and butterflies. And then at the end, whoa, there's even more petals and butterflies. The end. No, there's like grit and grime and obstacles and overcoming and all of that. And you're in the middle of that. And you're like, if you're hating on it, you're missing the whole point of what you set out to do when you came here. You came here to rise up, be the phoenix out of the ashes. I think of all the people right down the road from me in Malibu area where people are losing people I know, friends, listeners to the show, losing their homes, losing their lives, and sending so much love to all of you in NorCal too. It's like, wow, those fires of transformation, like it's happening ultimately for you in some way. And, the challenge is definitely there. The tears, I'm sure, are there. But if you can move into knowing that's part of the hero's tale, then it takes that sting out of it where you just want to tap out and not be here. Instead, it entices you to rise to the challenge of being the hero and digging down even deeper to find strength you never even knew you had. All right. No, now that's my story and I'm sticking to it. That's it for today. I love you all so much. I do have a track to leave you with. This is Head Flux and Alex Delfont. It's Far Off Fields is a song. Hope you enjoy. Till next time, journey well.
Also, before we cue up today's song, as a quick reminder, don't forget to download the Golden Key audio or ebook as my free gift to you at goldenkey.gift using the Golden Key code POSITIVEHEAD. And please, if you enjoy my gift, leave a positive review on Amazon so others can unlock their lives with the help of the Golden Key as well.